personal life, social life, as well as work life. And each day we spend almost 80% of our waking time on communication. The 20% of the time which has been excluded, that is the one which we try to use and spend it on ourselves when we take up our personal course. And that's why we can say 100% of the time goes to communication, and it has been rightly said, whether you intend or you don't intend, you always communicate. If you are not intending to communicate to the outside world, then you are communicating through your facial expression, through your posture, through your gestures. You are trying to communicate to outside world. And communication assumes greater importance in education setup, because when we try to communicate, then we are trying to achieve certain instructional objectives. And it has been rightly remarked that higher the effectiveness of communication, greater are the chances that instructional objectives will be achieved. And when we as individuals try to use communication, it serves many different purposes. It helps us to coordinate the activities. It helps us to command respect. Good communicator, if they are using communication effectively, they are able to command respect, they are able to influence other people, and they are able in dealing with the conflict situation, and they are able to easily resolve the conflicts which they face in their day-to-day life. Likewise, the people who are good communicator, then they are able to lead peaceful life, and they have a very satisfying experience with others, and they are able to establish relationships with others, and they lead a very healthy life.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
And then Arindam Chaudhary has very rightly said that succeed a life, they never succeed with people without mutual trust and understanding. Effective communication skills could just be the difference between success and you. If you're able to communicate effectively, then it's very sure that you will be able to develop good relationships or cordial relationships with others. You will be able to experience success in your individual, personal, or social life, as well as the people would be able to experience success in their career. And when it comes to good communication, N. Chandramouli, in his book, वर्मा जी अपना माइक बंद कर लीजिए. Thank you. So N. Chandramouli, who has written a book on decoding communication, has tried to compare a good communication with the magic. He says a good communicator is just like a magician. Where the magician moves objects without touching them, he cuts things which come back as whole and make people float in air. Likewise, an effective communicator is able to create magic using words, images, and ideas. And in a way, the person is trying to influence or affect the thought, action, and the destiny itself. And thereby, when we say communication, there are 4 basic skills which are required to be effective communicator. May I know from the audience what are the basic 4 skills which are essential to be effective communicator? Yes, can I get a response from the audience?
Command on the language.
Okay, that's not a skill, ma'am. Skill की बात कीजिए. which are the 4 basic skills which are needed? Verbal skills. Okay. So may I know who is speaking this? नाम बताएंगे अपना?
Miss Sonu Sharma.
Okay, Sonu, thank you very much. Very rightly said, the 4 basic skills which are required to be effective communicator include listening, speaking, reading, and writing. When you say these are the 4 basic skills, can anybody guess out of the 80% of the time you spend on communication, how much is the weightage given to listening? That means how much time you spend on listening, speaking, reading, and writing? Yes. Audience, please. Yamuna Polytechnic, anybody would like to respond? आप 80% अपना समय communication को देते हैं. Out of this 80%, how much time is spent on listening, speaking, reading, and writing?
Little time goes to speaking.
Okay. Sir, कुछ rough estimate?
Around 50% time goes to speaking.
Okay.
20% reading, 20% writing,
Okay.
and 10% listening.
Okay.
Otherwise, should be the reverse.
Okay. I think you have made yourself clear that otherwise it should be the reverse. Now, as far as the research in the area of communication is concerned, it has been found in a cross-sectional study that out of the time spent on communication, 45% of the time is spent on listening, 30% on speaking, 16% on reading, and 9% on writing. And it is a myth that we speak more, but in reality we listen more. But when it comes to these roles and responsibilities of an individual, they clearly mark whether the person would spend more time on speaking, listening, reading, or writing. Let me take an example of a teacher in the classroom situation. Where the teacher should listen more in the classroom situation, what is happening is we speak more and we listen less. When it comes to a software engineer, he is involved in writing and reading and not listening and speaking more. When it comes to PBX operator, the person is listening more and then responding to queries. So the person is involved in listening and speaking. So in nutshell, we can say that it depends upon the job responsibilities and the roles the person performs, which will determine how much time a person would spend on these 4 skills. And it is imperative for a good communicator that he or she possesses all these 4 basic skills of communication. But in real life, it is very rare that we come across a person who possesses all these 4 skills. Some people are good listeners, others are good speakers, some are good readers, others are good writers. But as we say, these are skills, so any person with practice, training can acquire the skills in communication. And now, in this particular presentation, I'm going to focus on oral communication skills. When I say oral communication skills, they include 2 of the components out of the 4, and these 2 components are speaking and listening. So I have tried to structure the presentation that I'll first deal with what do we understand by this term communication. Then we'll deal with what are some of the principles of effective speaking, and lastly, we'll take up principles of effective listening. So coming to the concept of communication, my question to the audience is, who's the mother? Yes. Let me pose this question. Who's the mother? So, graphic era, can I get a reply? Any audience member? Who's the mother? Okay. Okay, thank you. May I know the name? Okay, Dr. Chawla, thank you very much. Any other response? Any other response from graphic era? माँ कौन है? माँ क्या है? When I say माँ, आपके मन में क्या आता है? Yes? Any? Yeah? बोलिए please. Okay, so the person who teaches how to walk, how to talk, how to behave and so on. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now over to Jodhpur Institute. Over to Jodhpur Institute of Engineering and Technology. आपने कहा everything, उसमें क्या आता है मैम? Mother is confidence, okay? और कुछ?
Mother is who creates us.
Okay, creates us, creator है. और कुछ? और कुछ?
Mother is teacher.
First teacher of the child. Okay, can I get a response from Yamuna Polytechnic?
Mother is the first teacher.
Okay.
Any human being or bird or animal, any first teacher is called a mother.
Okay, the first teacher is called a mother. Anything else? Okay, may I get a response from Meherchand Polytechnic? Meherchand Polytechnic, Jalandhar. Can I get a response?
Sorry, sir, mother is a teacher.
Mother is a teacher.
Mother is a figure bearing a child. In case of language, in case of teaching, we can say language is the mother of teaching.
No, I simply posed a question. Who is the mother? Okay, thank you very much. Over to Rajasthan Institute of Engineering and Technology.
Basic teacher.
बोलिए बोलिए.
Basic teacher.
Teacher.
Basic language teacher.
सबका सर माइक.
Hello.
Rajasthan. Mic. Okay, thank you. So friends, you have given me few responses. Now let's see who's a mother. When I say mother, one thing which comes to my mind is a person who's very loving, who is affectionate, who is the first teacher of the child. She's the one who is caring, the person who understands the child without him or her saying anything. And there is another meaning which is attached to the word mother, which means a person who gives birth to a child. Is there any difference between the meanings which I have written on the left hand side and a meaning which I have written on the right hand side of the slide? Can you differentiate between the two? Why I have separated out these two? Can you give me the reason? Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. When you have said this, Love can be given by anyone, affection can be given by anyone can be the first teacher, can be caring, nurturing. But when it comes to the person who gives birth to a child, nobody else can do it. So one meaning is based upon experience. Based upon experience. Another one is the standard meaning of the word mother. Now, when it comes to communication, these are the two meanings which can be drawn of any word in English, Hindi. And if the receiver who is listening to this message, sent by the sender, is able to derive both the meanings as intended by the sender of the message, then we say the communication is effective. And here you will see that when I try to define the concept of communication, or want to give the meaning of the concept communication, both the denotative meaning and the connotative meaning ought to be the same for both the sender and the receiver. And thereby, communication can be defined as sharing of meaning. Normally, we say communication is transfer of idea, transfer of information, transfer of the feeling. But that transfer is complete when there is exchange, and there is exchange of meaning between the sender and the receiver. So with this small clarification on the concept of communication, now we move on to the classroom communication, and it has been rightly remarked by Wrench et al. That when it comes to classroom communication, there are two broad purposes of classroom communication. One, it ought to be effective. Another is it has to be effective. When I say it is effective, that means the communication should lead to attaining the instructional objectives. When I say effective, it means that a teacher should be able to build cordial relationship with the students. And if these two purposes are achieved in the classroom, then the communication can be said to be effective. So with this background, let's move on to what is the process of classroom communication. The teacher is the primary sender of the message in classroom, and the teacher tries to formulate the message. When I say the teacher tries to formulate the message, the syllabus for the subject, that is the basis or the source from where the message originates. And you try to determine the breadth and scope of the topic. You try to collect information from various sources, and then you try to sift the information, retain what is relevant. And then you try to decide through which symbols, whether verbal or non-verbal, you would like to transfer the message, and then you try to select the channel of communication. And channels, normally a teacher tries to select multiple channels of communication. The teacher himself is present in the classroom. The teachers try to use the slides, PowerPoint presentation, or a video clip, or the teacher tries to use the chalkboard and write on the chalkboard for the facility of the learning. So multiple channels are being utilized by the teacher in the classroom situation. Then when it comes to decoding of the message or the symbols which are sent, this decoding is carried out by the students. So students in the classroom are the receiver, and they try to interpret the message and then send feedback back to the teacher. Based upon the feedback, the teachers try to determine the subsequent message. Now, say for example, when you pose a question in the classroom and the student is unable to reply to the question, many a times you try to simplify the question, or you try to break down the question into various parts. This is the feedback you have received, and your subsequent message is dependent upon the feedback the student has provided to you. In the classroom situation, students sometimes also send message. When the student poses a question, when the student tries to clarify the doubt, when student tries to give the information, the student is involved in the process of formulation of message. And then he tries to select symbols, he tries to select the channel, and the teacher is the one who tries to decode that message. And then the teacher sends the feedback back to the student. So the classroom communication is an interactive model of classroom communication, and there is role reversal. The teacher is sender of the message primarily. Sometimes the students become the sender of the message. So here it has been rightly said that people speak with the vocal organs but communicate with the whole body. When you try to speak, it is not only the words which you use which get interpreted, but your gestures, your facial expression, your body movements, your tonal quality, they all get interpreted by the receiver, and the meaning is derived by the receiver of the message. So your whole personality comes into play when you speak. And when you are in the classroom situation, if there are 30 students, 60 eyes, they are observing you, they are listening to you, and then they are trying to interpret your message. And if there are 80 students, you can imagine 160 eyes are observing you, 160 ears are listening to you. So it is very, very important that as teachers, you pay attention to how you speak. And now I come to principles of effective speaking. And the very first thing I would like you to know is that verbal communication, the words you use, they have an impact on the communication effectiveness up to 7%. Your tonal quality has an impact up to 38%, and your non-verbal behavior has an impact up to 55%. So you can see for yourself that verbal communication is only the tip of the iceberg. The remaining communication is non-verbal communication. When you say tone of the voice, actually it refers to what you say, how you say it. Now let me take an example. I want a glass of water. So I say, please give me a glass of water. One thing, now see, please give me a glass of water. The words are the same, the tonal quality has changed. The very first tonal quality was a request. The second tonal quality is an authority which is being exercised by an individual. So here, when you say tone of the voice, it has an impact more than the verbal content. Then your non-verbal behavior. When I say non-verbal behavior, say for example, I want to congratulate somebody and I say, congratulations, you got selected. And on my forehead, there are words. Now, this is conveying what actually I feel, because that means I'm not happy in my heart, but I'm only fulfilling the formality. So when I speak, verbal content has an impact on the effectiveness up to 7%. 93% of the effectiveness comes from your tonal quality and your non-verbal behavior. So for a teacher, it is very, very important that you have both the verbal and the non-verbal communication skills. And here when I say verbal and non-verbal communication skills, you can see the slide. There are 3 images which have been shown. The very first, where the students are feeling sleepy. The other 2, where the students are happy, they would like to participate. And here you can see the students are all attentive. Now, any teacher would like to have a class where the students feel happy, they feel to participate, and they are attentive to what is being said. Nobody would like to be in a class of this kind. So, as a teacher, what I can do, I can improve upon my communication skill just to add to that interaction, to arouse the interest, to sustain the interest, and to generate interaction and pitch the topic or the teaching to the level of the learner. For that matter, what is needed is that the very first dictum is know thy subject. There is no substitution for mastery over the subject matter. I cannot speak fluently on a topic where I don't possess the adequate knowledge. If I'm not familiar with the technical terminology of the subject, I'll be committing or making mistakes when I'm speaking. If I'm not clear about the ideas, I'm not able to provide that information to my students in an appropriate manner. So when I said in inaugural session that knowledge is doubling every 7 to 10 years, that means each teacher, now for computer science it is less than 1 year, for electrical it is less than 2 years, for civil it is less than 5 years, for dentistry it is less than 10 years, for the architecture it is less than 15 years. Now it varies from subject to subject, but certainly there are changes which are taking place in any discipline. And likewise, you will agree with me that there are many new subjects which are emerging within a branch. Civil, you have a highway, you have structures, and you have environmental sciences and so on. So any teacher who has graduated from the system may not have studied all the subject, but the person needs to be current in the subject which has been allocated to him or her for teaching in the technical institution. So one of the principles for effective speaking is that you must possess adequate knowledge of the subject and you must be current in that subject. You must know what are the latest developments in that subject. The second principle for a teacher is know thy objectives. Because I said initially that for classroom communication, there are certain objectives which are to be achieved. When I say there are certain objectives, these are instructional objectives. Now, say for example, I am teaching this topic, classroom communication, to all of you. Now here, what do I expect out of this interaction? I expect that all those teachers who are attending this session, they should be able to explain the meaning of the term communication. They should be able to enlist the various stages in the process of classroom communication, that is formulation of message, encoding of message, transmission of message, and decoding of message, and the feedback. Now these are, I expect they should be able to do that. Then when it comes to the principle, I expect that they should be able to apply these principles when they are speaking. So there are definite objectives which we like to achieve. Likewise, say for example, you are teaching a subject of say computers or computer memory. And when you are teaching computer memory, actually you are expecting your students to define computer memory, enlist the three types of memory, that is primary, secondary, and cache memory, or you expect that the students will be able to differentiate among the three types of computer memory. Then you also expect that they should be able to enlist the various devices that can be used for storage. And then last maybe that the student should be able to select an appropriate device for storing a given data or the information. Now, if there are definite objectives, if as a teacher I am not aware what I expect from my students, then the method I select, the breadth and the scope of the content, the media which I need to integrate, how I am going to ensure that the students have learned that, it may not be possible. So a good classroom communication requires that a teacher is knowing the instructional objectives for which she or he is teaching. So if you know those, it will facilitate in determining the breadth and scope, selection of methods, selection of media, and selection of evaluation techniques. Then it is very, very important that we try to understand our audience. Again, I go back to the inaugural session. I said heterogeneity among learners, that is on increase. And when heterogeneity is increasing, I need to know what is the age level of my student. Age, or you can say, at least I must know what is the class level. Am I going to teach the first year student, the second year student, or the final year student? Because when I say class, the student who is in the first year, he is not having adequate knowledge of the discipline or the branch. Civil engineering, he is not very much familiar with, but yes, he has some understanding of physics, chemistry, and mathematics, but he is not familiar with as such the concepts, principles in the civil engineering. But a student who is in a final year, he has acquired knowledge in civil engineering, which can be utilized when I teach the final year student. Or the very first class and the second class, there will be difference in the prerequisite knowledge of the student. So I must understand what is the level I'm going to teach, because the content, the examples, the depth to which I'll deal that topic, that will vary from class 1 to class the final year students. Know the interest of your students. If the student is interested in what you are going to teach, then your job becomes simpler. But when you see your students are disinterested, your job becomes much more difficult. So find out whether your students are interested in the topic, in taking up individual activities. Would they like to take up activities indoor, outdoor, or whether they would like to work in groups or individually? If you have some idea of, or they are interested more in the activity rather than simple one-way lecture which is going in the class, accordingly you can bring modification and your communication would become more effective. Third thing which a teacher must understand is the learning styles of students. When I say learning styles, roughly you can categorize your student into 3. Auditory learners, the students who listen to something, maybe the person, maybe the audio tape, maybe the audio lecture, maybe audio recording, and the person is able to learn the things. There are visual learners. The visual learners are the one which who are able to see the things like slides, film strips, they are able to see the printed material, or they are able to see the videos and so on, and they are able to learn. Then there is third category of learning styles, that is kinesthetic learners. The students, when they are involved in undertaking activities, that is learning by doing. So when you involve them in certain activities, they learn it better. So for a class teacher, it becomes important that when you are communicating to your students, you try to understand their learning styles and you try to select method, media, activities as per the learning styles of your student. Then your communication would remain effective. Likewise, previous attainment. So what our student is bringing to the classroom? what knowledge, skills, and attitudes is bringing to the classroom, they need to be known. And you need to make use of that knowledge by trying to relate what you are going to teach with the previous. So posing questions on the previous attainments, knowledge, skills, you can make it more relevant for your students. Social context, whether the students belong to rural area, urban area, semi-rural area, because the kind of examples you pick up, they must be from their immediate context. If they are from their immediate context, that the students will be feeling, they feel more that there is relevance of what content you are teaching. So if you build that relevance, the communication remains effective. So very, very appropriately it has been said, know thy students so that you can pitch your communication to the level of your students. So this is the another principle of effective speaking. Message is important. Message needs to be structured, organized. Now you, on the slide, you can see I've jotted down few points. One is you can use topical organization, you can use chronological organization, or you can use journalistic organization. So my question to the audience is, what do we understand by this topical organization? What do we mean by topical organization? Hanji, YPE, Yamuna Polytechnic, टॉपिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से क्या समझते हैं हम?
Organization where there is a proper hierarchy.
Okay.
From top to the bottom.
Okay. Anything?
And,
Anji.
The orders pass from the top to the bottom and that are being fulfilled.
Sir, अभी orders की बात नहीं करेंगे. We are talking in terms of classroom communication and the topic which you are going to deal with. So breaking down the topic and arranging in a hierarchy. Okay, thank you very much. Now when it comes to topical organization, actually it refers to breaking down the topic and arranging the contents into headings, subheadings, and the detailed units. Now when I said I'm going to teach computer memory, so the very first heading is the concept of memory. Under that, I say definition and few examples. Then I go to the types of computer memory and I say primary memory, secondary, and the cache memory. Then third heading is the storage devices. Then I try to enlist the various storage devices. This is what is referred to topical organization. And if a teacher tries to adopt this organization, it is for the facility of the learner. The learner is able to take notes and he or she is able to organize the content matter under headings and subheading. And when it comes to recall of information, it becomes easy for the student because that topical organization, he is able to create a visual imagery. Chronological organization, may I know from graphic era, what do we mean by chronological organization? G, anybody from graphic era?
Organization means a structure wherein we elaborate on date-wise.
Okay.
You have started in 1995, then what
Well.
all these conferences are taken right after that. So right from all those rounds till the latest round.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You are absolutely right when you say chronology means arranging the content on a timeline. Now, say for example, you are dealing with the computers and development of computer or history of computer. You start with what happened in 1970s, then 80s, then 90s, then 2000, then so on. or you start with history of engines, you can arrange that history on a timeline. So you can either use ascending order or descending order wherever you have the historical development of the concepts and so on. So even in engineering and technology subjects, this timeline can be utilized. Or say for example, we start with the supercomputer, come to the Palm computer, so there is a timeline, so that timeline can be followed. Now come to journalistic organizations. So may I know from Jodhpur Institute of Engineering and Technology, what do we mean by the journalistic organization? जी, आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं सारे? So the my question to the audience is, अगर आप न्यूज़ पढ़ते हैं, एक न्यूज़ आइटम कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज की होती है in the newspaper? Yes, from Jodhpur Institute, can I get a response? जी. Okay, important thing. एक particular news item को कैसे लिखा गया होता? Think over. हाँ, summary में क्या दिया रहता है? This is the question. Main points क्या होते हैं? What are the main points in a news? हाँ जी? Facts regarding what? You are right, but elaborate on that. हाँ जी? हाँ जी? Okay. Okay. अच्छा, तो मैं अगर इसको simple words, any answer from Meherchand Polytechnic? Any answers from Meherchand Polytechnic?
Any activity which
Are
happened
you
earlier,
there?
summarized as a form of report, and it is published.
Okay. और कोई आंसर आपके वहां से आ रहा हो? ओके, मे बी. हाँ जी?
Any answer?
Rajasthan Institute of Engineering and Technology. Okay, if no answer, so let me give you an answer to this. When I say journalistic organization, any news item which appear in the newspaper starts with what happened, where it happened, when it happened, how it happened, what were the consequences of that, and what needs to be done. Now, that means any news item is actually answering questions like what, where, how, when, and so on. And likewise, in any discipline, you come across certain incidences. Now, I am giving again the power failure in USA, the earthquake in Gujarat, tsunami in Andaman and Nicobar. So these are the events which are now you had a, or maybe a air crash, or maybe you had an example of burning of automobiles, like many Tata Nano cars, they burned at a particular point of time. Now you can always think of what happened, where it happened, why it happened, how that could be, this incident could be averted. So if you can have these kinds of cases where you can raise these questions, then you follow journalistic organization. So a teacher who is going to communicate in the classroom need to look into whether he should follow the topical organization, the chronological organization, or the journalistic organization to improve the effectiveness of communication. Then other principles of organizing the messages, try to organize the message from simple to complex. Anything which is simple, now say for example, I'm dealing with differential equation, so I first deal with first order, then I go to second order, then I go to higher order differential equation. First order is simpler to understand, higher order is difficult to understand. So if I do this, there are building blocks which I've made. Or I take an example from that you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? A small child is taught these. When you are teaching addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, it is not that you are following simple to complex or easy to difficult principle. This is the logical hierarchy built into the subject matter. If addition easy to understand भी है, लेकिन if you know addition, it is easy for you to understand subtraction because subtraction is reverse of addition. Multiplication makes use of addition. Division makes use of addition, subtraction and multiplication. So this is logical hierarchy inbuilt into the subject. So when you are communicating, try to follow these logical principles as well as the psychological principles. Move from simple to complex, easy to difficult, known to unknown. Which is known to the student, always try to raise few questions on those things. Then whatever you are teaching, that becomes relevant. Try to start from the concrete to abstract. Anybody who would like to differentiate between the two? What is concrete and what is abstract? Yes, a simple question. कोई बताना चाहेगा what is concrete and what is abstract? जी बोलिए.
The financial crisis which we have seen.
Okay.
Take example of that. Saving of various funds which are taking place.
Okay.
It can be used by the teacher to make the students understand and visualize the similar failure with some discrepancy of facts in the account. So maybe in any system, right? We are moving from concrete to.
Okay, that's a concrete example, and you are moving to abstract. May I know your name, ma'am?
This is Fatima.
Okay, thank you, Fatima ji. But when I say concrete, it has a referent. When I say the concrete has a referent, say for example, you are taking an example of computer, I can show the computer to the students. When you talk in terms of mouse, I can show the mouse to the computer. When you talk in terms of CPU, I can show the CPU to the student. But when it comes to memory, I cannot show. When it comes to programming, I cannot show. I need to first define what is programming. When it comes to array, I need to give the explanation. What do we understand by the concept of an array? So concrete is what has a referent which can be pointed out. Abstract is which requires to be defined. So always try to first deal with concrete things, then go to abstract things. Then important observation to reasoning. A phenomena, if you want actually to develop how and why, first try to provide an exposure to the student to experience that phenomena. Now say for example, again I am taking a case of a small child. You throw a ball, it comes back. You throw a pen, it comes back. Now a student can generalize, there is a gravitational pull, everything which is thrown that comes back to the ground or the earth. So first make the person observe a phenomena, then pose a question how and why you remain effective. In addition to that, for good communication, it is important that we keep our message simple and short. So in brief, it is KISS. So there is no need to give elaborate explanation when it is self-explanatory. Come to use simple language, very, very important. I'm not here to impress you by my language, by my use of words. But if I use simple words, it becomes easy for the learners to understand. Then whatever I say ought to be grammatically correct. Because if you use incorrect grammar, then it creates hindrance or the distraction for the students. Say for example, I say students is playing in the field. You are stuck up. Oh, the teacher doesn't know students are playing in the field. So there is some sort of distraction created in the classroom. So it is very important that I remain grammatically correct. Then it is very, very important that whatever you say ought to be technically correct. Because you are dealing with a discipline which uses certain technical terminology. I can't use voltage for current or current for voltage. If I have to say current, I have to use the word current. If I have to say voltage, I have to use the word voltage. So to make the communication effective, very, very important that we use all these principles in our message designing. Then comes very important, maintain eye contact with the students. Now here you can see the images. If two people are made to sit back to back or talk to each other back to back, you will find that people are not able to communicate with each other even for 1 minute. This exercise can be taken up after the session at the respective centers. It becomes very difficult because you are not able to see the facial expression. You are not able to see what is being said. So there is some loss of information when you sit back to back. So when in a class you have 30 students, how you maintain eye contact with all the students? It is important. Sometimes you are addressing the front benches, sometimes you are referring to the middle benches, then you are referring to the people who are sitting on the last bench in the class. So try to have a dispersed eye contact to remain in touch. And when you maintain an eye contact with your student, you show respect, you show concern to that student. So it is important that we maintain eye contact, and at the same time, it is important that you remain audible. Now, I'm here to teach communication skills, and I'll be dealing with principles of effective communication, that is speaking and listening. Now, I said something. Maybe you are able to get few words, but you are not able to listen appropriately. If the audio signals are not received by your students, learning will not take place. So make sure that your voice reaches all the students who are sitting in the class. So modulate your voice. If there are 10, be audible to 10. If there are 30, be audible to 30. And if there are 80 students in the class, be audible to 80 students. You can pose me a question, how can I be audible to a class of 80 or 100 if my pitch doesn't reach? Then try to use the public address system. Nobody debars me from using the public address system in the classroom situation to remain audible to my students. Then always try to operate from I am okay, you are okay, life position. When I say I am okay, you are okay, here you can see every individual or every human being has perception about oneself. Either we think we are endowed with certain capabilities, we can contribute to the society, we are useful, we are worthwhile. That means I am operating from a life position which is referred to as I am okay. Or I can operate from a life position, I have nothing to contribute. I do not know anything. I am not capable of anything. And that is a position which I adopt in life. That is, I am not okay. Likewise, we have perception about others. When I say we have perception about others, we either think the other individual is okay or we think the other individual is not okay. And these days, most of the teachers, when we try to enter into the classroom, we go with the notion my student doesn't know anything. My student will not be able to contribute anything to the development of the lesson. So we are going with the notion, I'm not okay, or you are not okay. Then I'm operating from I am okay, you are not okay. When you operate from this life position, it means that your communication is closed. You don't remain open to the feedback. You do not invite the person to contribute to the development of the lesson, and you don't give any weight to the feedback which is provided by the student, and you do not allow him to interact with you. So if in class my approach should be I am okay, you are okay, then you give due recognition to the individual, you respect the individuality of the student, and you try to openly communicate, you invite the feedback, you give him opportunity to express himself, and then your communication is two-way and the feedback is taken. So communication is effective when it is two-way, it is open. So try to operate from I am okay, you are okay life position, rather than operating from any of the other three, that is I'm not okay, you are not okay, I'm not okay, you are okay, or I'm okay, you are not okay. So this is the healthiest life position to remain effective in communication, and it also helps you in building good relationships or cordial relationships. Then comes check your articulation and pronunciation. We are Indians, we are not born Englishmen, or we are not born in USA. So when I say communication, my articulation and pronunciation, there is an impact of my mother tongue. My accent is different than a person who is born in UK or USA, or maybe a person who is born in Germany. Your mother tongue is going to affect, but that effects can be minimized with practice. Now I am going to show you here some of the words in English which are normally mispronounced. Now here you can have a look at this. Can anybody from the audience pronounce this word? Anybody? Henji? Very right. When you say generally, if you try to look at the people, how they speak it, most of the people use generally. R comes before N. Whereas the right pronunciation is generally. Let's take another simple word. Yes? हाँ जी? हाँ, थोड़ा थोड़ा ठीक आ रहे हो आप. अब देखिए इसमें दो तीन आती हैं तो normally people say secretariat. It is not secretariat. It is secretariat. So people need to understand the pronunciation, and pronunciation goes hand in hand with articulation. Flower, simple word, flower बोलते हैं, year बोलते हैं, where the simple meaning, simple pronunciation is year. Go to another one. Yes. Restaurant. Okay. Restaurant नहीं है. Then जी. Oven. Okay. लोग क्या बोलते हैं? Oven. Okay. अब देखिए आप में ही दो आ रही हैं, chosen and chosen. So the right one is chosen. Okay. Then we see that likewise there are many simple words which we pronounce wrongly, and if we try to learn to articulate, the pronunciation will be better. So pay attention to your articulation as well as pronunciation to remain effective. Another is check your rate of delivery. A good communicator, when you speak, the rate of delivery has to be between 90 words per minute to 110 words per minute. Human ear can discern 200 words per minute, but if the person has to understand, the rate of delivery has to be between 90 to 110 words per minute. I cannot compete as teacher with the conductor, with the waiter in the restaurant. They speak at a very fast rate because they have to cater to the needs of many people. They cannot be with one customer. But as a teacher, my role is to make all the students in the class understand. So try to, if you are dealing with difficult things, rate of delivery can be slower. If you are dealing with simpler things, rate of delivery can be faster. Then vary your pitch. What happens when the person speaks at same pitch in the class? अगर एक ही pitch पे बोले तो क्या होता है? It is monotonous, boring. So to avoid that monotony and boredom creeping into the classroom, it is important that you try to bring in variation in your pitch. When you start a sentence, the pitch is lowest. When you are in the middle of the sentence, the pitch is highest. When you are towards the close of the sentence, the pitch again drops down. So maintain that rhythm. Or when you are trying to assert or stress certain words, your pitch should be high. So maintain that. Another important thing, use conversational mode. There are different modes of communication. You can use whispering, fuspusana. You can be soft, say hriday. Conversational, जैसे one-to-one teaching बात कर रहे हैं आप. You can be little louder or you can yell, chillana. Whereas the whispering and yelling, they are not the social behavior. Try to avoid whispering and yelling in the classroom situation. When you enter into whispering unnecessarily, you are arousing the anxiety level among other students. वो सोचता है पता नहीं मैम ये इस स्टूडेंट को क्या बता रहे हैं. So unnecessarily you are arousing the anxiety level. When you try to yell, चिल्लाना शुरू करते हैं, you have no control on the language, you have no control on your facial expression, you lose control on your body movements. So you never know how you react to a particular situation. Try to remain between being soft to being loud. Soft कब होते हैं? When a person is in difficulty, having a problem, is unable to understand, want to share the problem with you, try to maintain your cool. Remain soft. होता क्या है? हम agitate हो जाते. Try to control that. Most of the time, converse one-to-one, as if you are talking one-to-one. Loud, at times, when you want to stress, when the person is at a distance, then you can be little louder. And if you want to stress on certain words, certain point, you can be little louder. So try to remain being soft to being loud. Then use pauses at appropriate places. Roko mat jane do. Roko mat jane do. The meaning differs. पहला क्या था? रोको मत जाने दो. Stop, don't let him go. रोको मत जाने दो. Stop him, don't let him go. तो इसी तरह इंग्लिश में भी wherever you put a pause, that may lead to change in the meaning of the word. Now see, when I speak these two sentences, the pause is at different place. The teacher said the student is an idiot. Now see another sentence. The teacher said the student is an idiot. So wherever you put a pause, that will change the meaning of the sentence. So make sure that you use appropriate pauses at appropriate places. Another beauty of pause is if you want to give time for assimilation to your students, use pauses at appropriate places. Give pause, then continue. Then avoid verbal virus or the filler words. When I say avoid verbal virus or the filler words, many of us frequently make use of the word okay. Have you understood? Okay. Have you listened to me? Okay. Stress is directly proportional to strain. Okay. So, after every sentence, the teacher makes use of the word okay, जो कि उसका तकिया कलाम. So, when there is a तकिया कलाम, maybe in the form of okay, you see, you know, look, actually, yes, क्या होता है? They create hindrances, they create distraction. And I share one of the examples. I was sitting in a conference. My senior colleague, who's in the habit of using you know, he was to address the gathering. So a person like me, who was 50 plus at that time, was sitting and just putting frequency marks on the paper, counting how many times the sir has used the word you know. And believe me, in 25 minutes, he used that word 65 times. So it was very, very annoying. I didn't pay attention to the message at all. And the students who are sitting in your class, they are youngsters, they are adolescents. Their mind works much faster than mine. So they'll be indulging in all these things. So they'll not be paying attention to what is being said. So try to control your verbal virus if you have of any kind. We receive the feedback from the environment. Then your face is the index of your mind. The very first image you see is a very pleasant, smiling face. Everybody would like to look at. कहते हैं ना, हम भी कई बार कहते थे when we were students, अरे नहीं नहीं उस टीचर की क्लास में नहीं जाना, उसको देख के गुस्सा आ जाएगा. होता है ऐसा? Because the person is too angry with the world, too angry with himself, and the face reflects that. अरे नहीं नहीं वो खुश तो रहते ही नहीं, हमेशा उनकी नाक पे गुस्सा ही बैठा रहता है, तो नहीं उनकी क्लास में नहीं जाएंगे. So your face reflects the feeling you are experiencing at a particular point of time. Second one is the sadness. Third one is the fear. So as a teacher, if you go like in the class and you are afraid of the situation, classroom situation, students can make it up. तो उस दिन आप समझो आपकी शामत आई है. Then you are going to be bombarded with lot of questions because they can understand you are afraid of interacting with them. तो अगर आप दुखी हैं, उनको पता है आज मैम का मूड ठीक नहीं है, she is not going to teach. आज तो टाइम वेस्ट होने वाला है. So they switch off from the class which you are going to engage. So try to control your facial expression. Even if you are not happy with yourself or happy with the circumstances, leave that feeling outside the class. उसको क्लास में प्रकट नहीं करना है. But yes, if you are angry with a student, that anger can be exhibited in the classroom. अगर हंस के बोलोगे, there will be a mismatch between your facial expression and what you are saying. Then the student is not taking you seriously. So depending upon the situation, try to exhibit the right kind of facial expression. Most of the time, remain calm, remain relaxed, be happy, little smile on your face. Your speaking becomes much more effective because you are able to connect to your audience. So that you must take into mind. Then these are your gestures. And it is very rightly said, I'm sorry the color is blue which you may not be able to read, is use appropriate gestures. When you say one, the finger goes like this, one. When you say two, goes like this. When you say far away, the hand flows like this. Or you say up in the sky and your finger points out to the direction up in the sky. Or you say small, or you say large. So your gestures, they lend support to what you say. And in the classroom situation, I'll just give you one example. Abhi, recently, one of the panel discussions we were having, there came the question of a boiler. And the person said, when I did my graduation, I had seen small boilers. But when I was taken to the industry, I could see a room-sized boiler there. So I was unable to understand this is a boiler size. So when you're using this, your gestures can provide that information to the students, just like boiler can be of a small size, can be of a bigger size, of a room size, and so on. That image you can create in your mind, right? And many things, like you say here, and your finger points out to that place, even your gesture is working at that point of time. And you, without listening to your word, your gestures can take the student's eyes to that particular point. So make use of appropriate gestures. Thopiye mat apne pe. If you are not habitual of using the gestures, avoid them. If you are habitual of using the gesture, normal gestures you can use. Then principles of effective speaking, your posture also is important, and your posture is the symbol of dynamism, enthusiasm. Ab dekhiye, I'm standing here, I try to stand erect. अगर यही मैं ऐसे लेट जाऊं on the lectern stand, आप कहेंगे क्या थक गई हो, बैठ जाओ, खड़े नहीं हो सकते तो, because your posture is obnoxious. If you are enthusiastic, that enthusiasm will travel to your student. If you are adopting a lazy posture, that will go to your students. So वो भी slouch हो जाएंगे chairs पे. They'll also take the back seat. If you remain active, they'll also remain active. So pay attention and कोशिश कीजिए when you are teaching, don't take a chair and sit on the chair. Always try to stand and teach. Prefer standing to sitting. Then very important is another thing, that is dress. When we have very young teachers, it is very difficult to differentiate between a student and a teacher. So try to be formally dressed for the occasion so that you have your own status and you can be discriminated from the student setup. Initially, कहते हैं, when you meet a person, you judge him by his clothes. When you leave a person, you judge him by his heart. Or the very first impression you create on the audience is through your outer appearance. And there comes the role of your dress. So initially it makes a difference. After you start interacting, dress has no meaning at all. And when I say dress, I don't mean that you need to put in trendy clothes. You need to put very expensive clothes. Dress simply refers to anything in which you feel comfortable. Tailor-made, which you feel comfortable, neat and clean. That is what we refer to dress. And here, another is, try to be friendly. If you are friendly, it will be open communication. It will be two-way communication. You will be receiving the feedback. You will be able to provide the feedback. Free yourself from biases and prejudices. Now, say for example, as a teacher, I carry a bias towards a caste. अब जैसे ही मैं किसी कास्ट को अच्छा नहीं मानती हूँ, क्लास में वो बच्चा उस कास्ट का बैठा है, what will happen? Either I'll unnecessarily criticize that child, don't give him opportunity to interact with me, don't allow him to participate, ignore that individual. So this is going to make communication ineffective for that particular individual. So try to leave your biases, prejudices outside the gate of the classroom. Treat all the audience members on equal platform. Then provide time for assimilation. This I have said. Obtain and provide feedback, because communication is two-way and you need to obtain and provide feedback. when you are providing feedback, that ought to be task related. Never try to make a generalized statement. You are not capable of doing anything. Now, this is a very generalized statement. You are actually hurting the self-esteem of a person. So always say, okay, beta, this sum is correct up to this point, this sum is wrong after that. Now, then come to, it ought to be accurate, ठीक होने चाहिए, specific. कौन सा part गलत है, ये बताइए. And then try to provide that child corrective feedback. How to correct that part, that should be told, and it should be immediate. So try to follow these 5 principles, that feedback ought to be task related, ought to be accurate, specific, corrective, and immediate. Because delayed feedback is no feedback. ठीक है, अच्छा काम किया, appreciate at that moment. गलत कर दिया, try to tell the person in polite words कि ये गलत हो गया. Immediate feedback should flow to the person. But एक चीज का ध्यान रखेंगे, criticize जो करना है in person करना है, appreciate जो करना है in public करना है. Praise in public, criticize in private. So that also is a principle which we must remember when we are trying to provide the feedback. Now, अगर आप speaking skills को improve करना चाहते हो अपनी, anybody would like to improve upon, I would say record your voice. आज आपके पास video recording है, mobiles में camera है. Ask somebody when you are teaching in the class, the person should record your video. Then obtain the feedback from your students, maybe your colleagues, maybe your relatives, or any good friend, and be open to the feedback. Don't negate that feedback. Sochiye, yes, if somebody has said your rate of delivery is faster, pay attention to that. If somebody says, okay, your pronunciation of this particular word is wrong, pay attention to that. And then analyze your strengths and weaknesses. अपने आप को दोबारा से, you try to do the self-analysis, try to identify where I make a mistake, and then try to eliminate your weakness. कैसे करेंगे? That is only one dictum. Practice, practice, practice. So practice makes the man perfect. That is the dictum for acquiring any kind of skill. And it is very important that you can adopt another modality. Choose a role model. वो role model आपके पेरेंट्स हो सकते हैं, आपके ब्रदर सिस्टर हो सकते हैं, आपके टीचर हो सकती है, कम्युनिटी का कोई मेंबर हो सकता है, any relative in the family who is a good communicator, he or she can be a news reader. News reader बहुत अच्छी examples अपने पास हैं. And then try to follow that person for a month's time. उनको टाइम पे अगर आपने न्यूज रीडर को चुना है, उनको 1 महीना उनकी वो कैसे न्यूज पढ़ते हैं उनको सुनिए. And then try to imitate the role model. कहते हैं steal good ideas shamelessly. In management it is being said, अच्छी चीजें चुरा लो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, and copy it. Then practice, practice, practice. So these are broadly 2 strategies which can help you in improving your own communication skill. I think I have already exceeded the time limit. It is already 1:10. Okay, 1:10 hai. So I'll not continue now. I stop here. I'll not be touching upon the second aspect, that is listening. Maybe if time permits, maybe in another session. So if there are any questions from the audience side, 5 minutes I can spend on the questions, and then we can wind up the session, go for lunch, be back by 2 o'clock because an expert is coming at 2 o'clock for dealing with teaching effectiveness. So any questions from the graphic era? Do we have any question for the speaker? No? Thank you very much. Yamuna Polytechnic for Engineering. Any questions? None. Sir, आपके participant कितने हैं? I am able to see only 7 to 8 members sitting in the seminar hall. So ensure the participation of all the members. Jodhpur Institute of Engineering and Technology. हाँ जी वर्मा जी पूछिए. नो क्वेश्चन. कुछ समझ आया ये पूछ लीजिए. Okay, so any question from Rajasthan Institute of Engineering and Technology? Sir, any question? Yes. Okay, any question from Meherchand Polytechnic?
Yes, any question? Please come.
Meherchand Polytechnic, do we have any question for the speaker?
Speak out loudly. Speak out. बोलिए क्वेश्चन बोलिए.
हाँ जी बोलिए बोलिए. Good morning.
In case audio and visual equipments are unavailable in the classrooms, in that case, how can we make our teaching effective?
Okay.
Ma'am, she said that in case audio and visual equipments are not available, then how we can make our teaching effective?
ऐसा है कि these are basic requirements and the management should ensure the availability of that. They really add to the effectiveness. I can understand your concern because the ground realities are little different and all our classrooms are not well equipped with the audio and the visual equipment. But yes, if you really want to make good teaching and classroom, they are there. Hanji. Any other question from Meherchand? None? Hanji, Dr. Sneel, is there any other question?
Ma'am, there is no question, ma'am.
Just a minute. Thank you very much. Hanji.
Ma'am, I wanted to confirm that we have more than 30 participation. I think visibility is not proper. Maybe that's the...
Okay, thank you very much for the information. Maybe the camera is one-sided. So maybe that's why I'm not getting the total view. Thanks for that. Hanji. Hanji, any other questions? So no question. So thank you everybody for participating in this session. So we meet again at 2 o'clock sharp for the next session on teaching effectiveness. So thank you one and all. Hanji, ab uth lijiye. So I expect you at 2 o'clock back in the seminar halls. Aaj.